Sonya Buys, and these are my guests today. Obviously, my co-host Alicia. Welcome back to the studio.
Well, thank you, Sonya. It's nice to be here.
She's been on a little mini vacation as well, and our guest today is Nicci Page. Welcome, Nicci.
Thanks for having me.
We've only been trying to coordinate this for
Ever.
I don't know how long. But today is the day.
Yes.
So again, thank you for
welcome.
coming to the new studio.
I love it.
Thank
It's
you
very professional around here.
Thank you very much for joining us today. And so, guys, we're just going to get started. So, Nicci Page. Like I said, welcome to the stage. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Nicci. She does a little bit of everything. And you know what? I'm going to show you who Nicci is and what she does. So take a look.
Oh.
I am passionate about opportunities to seek justice for marginalized communities. I enjoy being able to help people who often feel that no one cares about them or fights for them. While Nicci grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, she left her hometown to pursue her education and passion for a career in law. Since then, she has returned to the city and now applies her experience towards helping those in her local community. Nicci Page is a skilled lawyer who has demonstrated her courtroom prowess with more than 12 years of experience managing a variety of civil and criminal cases. She has arraigned thousands of cases, handled criminal trials, and presented hundreds of felony cases to the grand jury as a former prosecutor in the Narcotics Bureau of the Bronx County District Attorney's Office. So, Nicci,
Yes.
Nicci, you're doing a whole nother project here. And so the book, you're an author now, in addition to the Glowcode.
Technically, I'm not the author. I am the publisher and the editor and business partner of the author.
Okay. So tell us a little bit, and the new project. Tell us a little bit about the project and how did all this stuff come about outside of the Glowcode?
Okay, girl. Ready for a story?
We are ready for
Okay.
We're ready.
All right. So I was in these internet streets. Okay. You know, I'm not going to say I was running the streets, but I was in the internet streets. And while in the internet streets, I happened to come across a young man named Daryl Moore Jr. Right? So we struck up conversation. We became friends. He's, you know, when I initially met him, I had no idea about this history of his because he does not, at 44 at the time, present as someone who has ever had any contact with the criminal justice system or any criminal past. He presents like maybe went to college, business owner, construction company, well-spoken, well-read. Like the fact that he could have a conversation with me and I not pick up on it, like I'm like, okay. So then as we're conversing, he starts telling me, you know, I have a manuscript for a book, I have a book, I want you to read it, so I want you to know everything about me. So he sends me this thing and I'm reading, I'm just like, oh my God, page after page after page after page, like couldn't stop because it's just so much happening, page turner. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sad, I'm horrified, I'm shocked, I'm crying, I'm laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you went through all of this in your life. So let's, you know, re-release this as an actual book. I didn't actually know how to do that, but he was like, I know you can do it. As I was like, let's hire somebody. He's like, why are we gonna hire somebody? You went to college, you went to this, you a lawyer, you don't need nobody.
Wow.
You could do this. So he kind of talked me into it and I started clicking around on the internet and figured it out.
Wow. And I just got the book in the mail the other day, so I haven't had a chance to go through the entire book, but the insert, oh my gosh, everything you just described, you know, it was really sad. And he was a young man and just lived a life of a 40-year-old even at 14.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very compelling right from the beginning.
Yes.
I almost couldn't put it down. Well, actually, when I went online to read it, we just hurry up and bought it. It just came in, like I said, a couple of days ago, but I was flagging through, and what an amazing story.
Right.
What an amazing story.
Yeah. So, Nicci, how is your purpose tied to this young man's purpose?
Well, it's interesting you should say that because, you know, I'm a former prosecutor, so I would have been the person prosecuting a person like him some years back. Currently now I am a defense attorney, so I would be a person defending someone like him. And my conversations with him and reading this book and just, you know, talking to him, hearing about stories of not just him, but other people that he's met along his journey, spending, you know, being sentenced to life in prison at the age of 16, and people he's encountered and stories that he's heard, it kind of challenged me in my preconceived notions, my perceptions, my beliefs about the criminal justice system. And I think we are purposed by God to join together to offer that dual perspective of what's going on in our criminal justice system and how to help parents, all parents, but specifically in our community, of like, these are the signs you should look for. If your kid is acting like this, maybe you should check into this. This is what you shouldn't do. Yes, I know you love your son, but maybe you shouldn't cover up and sweep under the rug and make excuses for everything. Maybe you should discipline him at 12 so he's not sentenced to life at 16. And so I would have the advice coming from the professional legal law background of, okay, so let's say you didn't do all of those things and now you got a felony and you're either going to the grand jury or, you know, you go into your preliminary hearing. These are some things you should and should not do to help and assist your child. So I think our purpose is kind of giving both perspectives on how to navigate the criminal justice system.
And then the racial and ethnic disparities. Talk to us a little bit about that. Because I was on the sentencingproject.org, and according to them, there's like 12,000 people serving a life sentence, and they all committed crimes under the age of 18. And also, with the racial disparities, there's 80%, I want to say, of Black youth under the age of 18 serving life sentences. How is that? Talk to us a little bit about the disparities in the system.
Okay. All right. So you already have, you know, a real conversation, because I don't do play. I'm gonna tell the truth, and sometimes truth challenges us to think differently. Sometimes truth pinches us to where we need to do some things differently. It's not always them. Sometimes it is them, but sometimes it's us. And we need to just come to grips and accept the challenge and do something about it rather than ignoring it. So I think there's more than one thing going on there. On the one hand, there are things in our community that set our children up to be on a path to commit crime, whether it's fatherless homes, whether it's people, like if you read the book, I don't want to give too much away, but as Daryl kind of grew and matured and his frontal lobe fully formed, he started rethinking his life and looking back over some of the things that he did. And he came to the realization that the only time my father paid me attention is when I was in trouble. The only time he came around is when my mom called and said he got kicked out of school, he got suspended, he got arrested. That's when my father would come around. So maybe I didn't know I was doing this at the time, but I was acting out to get my father to pay attention to me. And you know, I doubt he's the only person who does. People seek negative attention if they can't. If you ain't just gonna show up because you my dad. If I have to bust somebody in the head to get you to show up, then that's what I'm gonna do.
Well,
so
hold that thought, and you know what? We'll be right back. We're talking to Nicci Page, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. We were just talking to Nicci, and so Nicci, so basically you were saying some of these disparities, ethnic, it could just stem from home. A bit, like, so
there
what are you
are
saying?
multiple contributing factors, in my humble opinion. So there are things in our community that, quite frankly, are just in a disarray, in a shambles, complete dysfunction and disorder, whether it be broken homes, people having babies left, right, and center everywhere. Discipline apparently is optional these days. There's so many things that are happening in our community that we really need to stop and have an honest conversation with ourselves and say, this is not working, okay? I get everybody wants to be progressive and just love their kids, love, but part of love is obedience.
Absolutely.
Part of love is discipline. Can we get 2 tablespoons of obedience for every 1 ounce of love, please? So there's some of that that's going on, and I think there's, unfortunately, in our culture as of late, maybe the last 10 to 15 years, unfortunately, a celebration of dysfunctional behavior. And it's not helping. It's programming our young children to think things are okay that are not. okay. So we have to take stock, and that's something we have to fix. Ain't no legislation gonna fix that. Ain't no program gonna fix that. We have to fix that. Now, on the other hand, there are structural things, I think, in the system that don't help us. I know white privilege is a hot topic. You know, people are scared. They don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to say anything, but I ain't never scared. So I think the function of white privilege in terms of the criminal justice system, I don't think it's like people like, oh, you're white, not guilty. Oh, you're black, guilty. I don't think it's that clear cut. I think there are subliminal, subconscious things going on in people's minds that they don't even know that they have these biases. They're not aware that they're doing this. And I've seen it happen in my professional life. There's a lack of empathy for black and brown people. And by lack of empathy, I say a white person is going to get, most times, a level of empathy and understanding that most black people, when they walk into a courtroom, don't get. And to a certain extent, some of this, I think, is natural. We are tribal at our core. If you take away society, we are tribal. So if you're white and you're sitting there and you see a white person walk in who's allegedly committed a crime, you look at that person and you see you. You see your son. You see your nephew. You see your cousin. You see your neighbor. If Jaquan walks in, you know, in his Gucci slides and his pants down to here and free-form dreadlocks, you don't see your son. You don't see your nephew. You see other. And so subconsciously, you don't have the same level of empathy for that person. So where Chad comes in and he's committed the same crime, you feel empathy, so you offer him a misdemeanor. You didn't do it on purpose. You didn't calculate in your mind, he's white, he gets a misdemeanor. It's happening underneath the surface. The black kid walks in, misdemeanor doesn't even pop up into your mind because you've been trained through media, music, everything you see, the news, to think danger, danger. And this is happening subconsciously. And they've done studies on this. I'm not making this up. Where they've tested people and they put people in kind of like a thing where we're hurting someone, where we're zapping people and they're hurting. You have the power to stop them hurting. When you push this button, we'll stop zapping them. So a white person gets zapped, we are concerned. Stop it, they're hurting. Black person's getting zapped, they don't look that hurt. They don't look, they can probably take 2 or 3 more. So this is a real thing that has been studied in social science, and it's difficult to discuss, but I think we have to. We don't have to blame and point and say, you're evil, you're racist, you're this, you're that. It's happening. So let's just address it and be honest and change it and challenge ourselves and our own assumptions and preconceived notions and biases.
So having said all of that,
I'm sorry, I'll be talking.
No, the book, is this a form of, like, okay, Daryl and you got together and wrote this book, and so is this some form of redemption? Is this him speaking directly to the youth and also parents? Like, pay attention to your children, show empathy and redemption, this is. And so basically he's taken accountability for his actions, but at the same time, these are real life issues stemming from a very young age.
Yes.
Right, Alicia, did you have a chance to?
No, but I honestly wanted Nicci to kind of elaborate on the celebration that she was talking about around that's our community that is saying, hey, you know, if you're doing this, I need to hear more about that. My ears peaked up when you said that, Nicci. So can you elaborate a little bit more?
All right, now again, this is, you know, hot take, unpopular opinion, you know. Okay, so I think
facts are the facts, right?
Exactly. You know, we've had over the last 10 to 20 years this, you know, catchphrase, respectability politics. We don't want to engage in respectability politics. But I think we've gotten to the point now where anything that requires you to meet a standard, anything that requires you to stay within a boundary, anything that requires you to behave is considered respectability politics, and I'm over it. If the only other option other than respectability politics is just complete disorder, disarray, and disrespect of yourself and others, I'll take respectability politics for 2.
Thank you, Alex.
You know?
Yes.
And I think, you know, everybody's in such, you know, being disrespectful to yourself and others is not revolutionary. It's not. So we have to reel that back in. Like, what actually is respectability politics? And you showing up prepared, you showing up dressed appropriately for the venue that you are in is not respectability politics. That's just being a functioning adult. Adulting is not respectability politics. So we have to again, come to Jesus on that and take responsibility for that and reel some of that back in, because some of the behaviors, the way people are sending their children out in public, you sending your daughter who's 13 in public naked. Naked. I can see her whole body. And you are a mother and you walking next to your 13-year-old daughter and I can't tell the difference between her and I guess we're calling it a sex worker now. That's a problem. Why are you okay with your daughter who is a child in public with her butt literally exposed in public, her breast literally exposed in public? Why is this okay? And nobody's saying nothing? But I'm crazy.
Wow.
Speak to it.
Wow. So Nicci, so the new project, this new project, the One More page. Tell us a little bit about this new project. And this is the first book of many from what the website looks like.
This is going to be a 3-part series. We're working on titles. This is Confessions of the Accused, available now, Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. It's up on Walmart.com, ebook, paperback, and hardcover. So head on over to Amazon. You can get that now. But the next book, we're playing around with it, but I think it's going to go Confessions of the Accused. Book 2, I think, is going to be Confessions of an Ex-Con, which is going to be the story of, I don't want to tell you kind of what happens, but after this. That's going to be the story of after this. And it might actually be how we met, how this all happened. So y'all definitely want to get that. And then the third book, I think we're going to be calling it Confessions of a King, because it's going to be the aftermath of after he's come through his full redemption arc of what he's doing. And you asked about redemption. When you read the book, he's done a lot of things by the time he was 16. Violent things, he's harmed people, he's hurt people, committed serious crimes. And he takes responsibility for that in the book. But as he's aged and gotten older, got in touch with God and has a true spiritual connection with God, he's like, listen, I can't, I got to make up for some of the stuff that I've done.
Well, that's wonderful. We'll be right back and we'll continue the conversation with Nicci Page and the book. And we'll be right back.